Your life as every Viltrumite rank. Level 1, Soldier. Today is your 18th birthday. And you know what that means? Yep, that's right. Both of your parents are actively trying to kill you with their bare hands. Normally, there'd be some kind of cake or a normal celebration here. But unfortunately for you, you're a Viltrumite. You are one of the strongest physical specimens in the entire galaxy. So for your rite of passage, you have to survive both of your parents attacking you at the exact same time just to prove you are worthy of being a soldier. You barely managed to pull through. So congratulations. Welcome to the army, kid. At this point in time, the Viltrumite Empire controls most of the known galaxy. That isn't a coincidence, it's a strict policy. Your entire culture runs on one single operating principle. The strong deserve to live, and the weak deserve to die. You and your people don't look at this as cruel. You just see it as nature's way. You and your fellow 18-year-old soldiers see it as your personal duty to eliminate anyone you think is too weak, even if they're only slightly weaker than you are. You believe in survival of the fittest to the absolute extreme. There's zero room for sparing lives out of love or empathy. To your people, that is just weak sauce. Some might say that you and your fellow soldiers have a bit of a massive superiority complex. Now that you're a soldier, your exact job is to expand the Empire's reach. That means approaching other civilizations with a very simple offer. Submit to the Empire completely or get destroyed. Because you are so technologically advanced, the Viltrumite Empire actually possesses the technology to end famine, extend lifespans, and cure deadly diseases. But you are only willing to share it with species that are totally compliant and bow down to you. If a planet refuses, well, they weren't worthy of it anyway. As soldiers, you are tasked with advancing the mission of the Empire. In other words, you are trying to spread your terrifying and brutal culture across the galaxy through any means necessary, even if that means wiping out entire species and planets to do it. You don't lose a single wink of sleep over this, and neither does anyone else in your unit. But the one line you absolutely will not cross is killing a fellow Viltrumite. That is sacred. I mean, you're not total savages. The only way a Viltrumite can be killed is if they break the law. But killing anyone else in the galaxy? That is fair game. The Empire is growing, and you are only just getting started. Level 2. Viltrumite General. Congratulations, soldier. After all those years of hard work, you finally got promoted. You're no longer a grunt. You're a general under Grand Regent Thrag, and the Empire is in full expansion mode. Here is the context. After Emperor Argol's assassination way back in the day, the surviving Viltrumites need a leader, and they found one in Thrag. He was a Viltrumite who was literally bred to be the strongest of them all. His father was one of Argol's closest advisors, and Thrag's entire existence was engineered for this specific role. He was appointed Grand Regent with one official mandate: expand the Empire and find Argol's true heir so they could take the throne. He's basically just supposed to be keeping the throne warm until they find the true successor. But strictly between you and me, Thrag has no real intention of ever giving up power. But hey, that is way above your pay grade. For now, you got one thing to worry about. You've been promoted from soldier to general, and it's time for you to go commit some intergalactic genocide. It's time for your very first assignment. Yopa, a peaceful, scientifically advanced world that has somehow achieved perfect harmony between nature and technology. As a general under Thrag, you serve the Empire without question, wanting to help your people achieve total control of the universe. You train your soldiers to be just as ruthless and violent as you are. You take absolutely no prisoners, and you are unwilling to accept anything but total, unconditional surrender from the inhabitants of any given planet you arrive at. You arrive at the planet and you personally deliver the native Yopans your offer. Submit to the Empire and hand over your resources, or face the consequences. The Yopans say no. You aren't surprised, and honestly, you aren't even annoyed. What follows next is less of a battle and more of a demonstration. Surprisingly, the Yopans were actually prepared. They had developed weapons specifically engineered to get through Viltrumite durability. But unfortunately for them, they just aren't quite good enough. Tough luck, guys. It was worth a shot anyway. Their technology gets completely shredded, their resistance is crushed, and when it's all done, Yopa isn't a conquered planet. It's completely destroyed one. Some survivors manage to flee into deep space. But who cares? You'll find them soon enough. You get back home, file your report, and wait for your next assignment. Another world. Another offer they'll probably refuse. Level 3. Planetary Infiltrator. All right, here's the situation. Remember how things were going great just a second ago? Yeah. Well, now the Empire is in a massive amount of trouble. You see, recently Viltrum was struck by a deadly disease known as the Scourge virus. It a bioweapon that was specifically designed to attack Viltrumite DNA. The vast majority of your population was killed by this virus, leaving only 50 or so left alive and the entire future of the Empire completely uncertain. To help get the Empire back on track, the Grand Regent and the Council have decided to implement the Planetary Infiltration Program. This means that the strongest surviving Viltrumites are selected and sent to distant planets to breed with the local population, growing the Empire in a far different way than you're used to. Because of how incredibly dominant Viltrumite genes are, even if a child is only half Viltrumite, they are basically 99% full-blooded. This means that the next step in your career consists of you being assigned your very own planet to infiltrate and take over from inside. The Viltrumite Council gives you your next assignment. A gorgeous planet with beautiful vistas and oceans light years away from Viltrum. For now, this planet is going to be your temporary home. The world is pretty unremarkable by galactic standards, but the inhabitants are genetically compatible with Viltrumites, which is all that actually matters. You'll pose as a hero, earn their trust, find a mate, have children, and when the time comes, hand this planet over to the Empire on a silver platter. This is going to be much different from your usual conquests. Instead of almost immediately slaughtering a bunch of natives, you now have to pretend to be friendly. You soar through the skies of your new home, defeating their big, scary bad guys, immediately cementing yourself as a local superhero. You drop through the atmosphere and immediately hate how weak everyone is. Their strongest champions couldn't even threaten a Viltrumite teenager, let alone you. But you smile, you shake hands, you sign autographs, and you let them build giant statues of you. You also wear a cape now, it's fine. You've infiltrated this planet in order to gain the trust of the local populace. Step 1. Check. You aren't planning to destabilize the planet. Not yet, at least. Next, you've been ordered to find a mate, someone to breed with and raise a few kids with, so you can train them to hone their Viltrumite instincts. Your children will be warriors serving the Empire, just like you. Sure, they're only half Viltrumite, but they're still vastly superior to the majority of the local inhabitants. You continue your work as a so-called superhero and eventually meet a young woman who falls madly in love with you and your incredibly handsome mustache. You try your best to keep your emotions out of it while charming her. After all, this is supposed to be a purely transactional relationship. Your only goal here is to breed and have children that you can turn into weapons for the Empire. You get married, have a couple of kids, and live a mostly normal life, for now at least. Let's see if the grand plan actually pans out.